on things. Look at the worst case scenario and be okay with that. If you're okay with the worst case scenario, odds are something you're going to get even a positive result, but something in the middle might happen. That's okay too. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm really excited to share this podcast with you today because it's about how to take difficult action. Now, a lot of times what stops people from taking difficult action is their fear. I've done episodes before talking about that, how to overcome that fear. But today I want to specifically get to the point of steps when you have an idea of what you want, but you're just not able to do it. And yes, fear is a big component of it. But there's other things I want to address in this, how to actually prep for these times. Because it's easy to talk about it, it's a lot more difficult to move through it. And especially when it's something challenging. Take an example of like applying for a new job or moving away from a job that has some security right now to do something that might be a little bit different or outside of your normal realm. Starting a new business, asking that person out that you really like. Maybe it's going on an adventure or doing a vacation. But it's stepping outside of something that you normally don't want to do, or you're just finding a lot of hesitancy in doing. So here are some steps that I really like and enjoy and use to help me move through difficult times, specifically moving through difficult actions and how to do that. So there's a few different components to it. We'll dive right into this because I'm going to keep it a little bit short. The first thing you need to address is your body. Your body is its own mechanism, and sometimes we like to separate the two and put them together in different times, but ultimately we need to address your body because it is a brain and it has its own brain, and how to get your body to do difficult things. A good example is when it's cold out. We know it's cold out, our brains go, oh my god, we need to bundle up because I could freeze if I go outside. Well, if you were to be outside for hours, yes you could, but if you were to only go out there for a few moments, you'd be fine. Even though we have that hesitancy either way, our body still is afraid of it. So what I suggest to train your body to do difficult things and take difficult action is, one, if you're not already doing this, exercise. Exercise is a huge way to do it. There's a lot of options. I'm not even going to dive down that path, but taking your body and doing something difficult with it in terms of exercise is a great thing. And now, if you're doing the same routine for over and over again, I would suggest switching it up. That isn't difficult anymore. It's got to be something that kind of you feel that pull back when the thought of it comes, but you can think your way through it and know that it's safe because other people are doing it too, and you do have the ability to take care of yourself that way. But the one I've been really liking lately, and I've been doing this for the past 3 months here, and my wife thinks I'm crazy for doing it, is cold showers. Now, there's a lot of different science and talk, and people doing cold plunges all the time and buying these really expensive things to do these cold plunges, and nothing wrong with that. But the way I look at it is, and after I've been watching some Dr. Andrew Huberman talking about it as well, is you're training your body to do something very, very difficult and uncomfortable. Now, I know mentally I can handle it. I know that I will be okay if I have a cold shower. But every time I do it, even 3 months later, it's still difficult. But it's the purpose of training myself to do those difficult things, to step forward into that difficult action. And that's literally what was going through my brain this morning as I was doing it. I only do it for 4 minutes. There's a few different ways to start. You can start, somewhere warm and then work your way to something cold. Right now, I just have it on straight cold and then goes from cold to colder. But it's taking difficult action in that and putting my body into a scenario that is challenging and where I'm going to want to pull away and pull back, and training my body to be comfortable in those uncomfortable scenarios. Because now by the end of that 4 minutes, I'm able to breathe and relax and realize and tell myself this isn't actually as difficult as I thought it was. And it's allowing me to do more difficult things and allowing me to take on those other things that are challenging in life easier because I know I can do these certain things. So my suggestion is exercising or cold showers. Start small and work your way up. Next part of that is taking difficult action, is training your brain. So again, if you think of when, going out in the cold, for example, your brain goes, well, that's a bad idea because you can get this, this, and this, and this. And it's a good mechanism to have. It keeps you alive. It's great. However, our brain is also designed to make things as easy as possible and always take the path of least resistance. So to always move towards comfort on those things. Nothing wrong with comfort in general, but if everything you do is always super comfortable, then when you go to take uncomfortable action and change something in your life, it's going to be really challenging. So visualization, again, I've talked about lots in this podcast about meditating, but specifically here, even if you're not meditating, but just closing your eyes and just visualize what it would be like to do that uncomfortable thing. Maybe it's, again, asking somebody out. Maybe it's starting a new business. Maybe it's going on a difficult hike, doing some adventure that just seems really outside of what you're doing normally right now. Visualize, see what it's like, feel what it's like inside your body, and picture it over and over again, because the brain doesn't know the difference between the two. So you're training your brain to do these things. When the time comes, it's much easier. For example, before this podcast, I was already visualizing myself doing it. I was visualizing myself going through this and what I was going to say. And it makes it a lot easier. I've gotten done this, like I said, with sports, with business, with relationships. You can apply this anywhere. Just picture in your head, be in that moment, put your phone away for 5 minutes and just do that. Do that small little exercise will make uncomfortable action much easier. The next thing I found really helpful, and this is, again, listening to this in podcasts that I listen to, is when you think of taking that difficult action, most time the reason why people don't do it is because of fear, is because of all these negative things that come up. And again, there's nothing wrong with those things coming up. It's a defense mechanism. It's actually there to keep you safe. So one, you can thank yourself for doing that. But two, think of the worst case scenario and really play it out in your head. For example, if you were to ask that person out and they said no, what would be the worst case scenario? Well, they say no and you're not dating them now, and so there we go. There's no difference there. Yes, my ego might hurt a little bit. Or if you're wanting to start that new job or start a new career or maybe start your own business, if you're unhappy in your life right now in that scenario, in that realm, and you are wanting change, but right now you're stuck and you're not sure how to get there, think of that worst case scenario. And when that comes to mind, if you can just visualize being there and just go, okay, well, what's the worst case if I start that job? Well, or if I put myself out there and have that new business, well, people might say no, people might not like me, people might judge me. Well, guess what? You could be being judged right now anyway, and you're not doing what you like. So why not do what you love and just accept the fact that one way or another someone might judge you? Make peace with that. So again, looking at what's the worst case scenario, make peace with that. Be okay with that. Good examples doing this podcast. I've made peace that the worst case scenario is that everybody that watches it hates it. I'm okay with that because I'm doing this out of a place of love and kindness and because I know that these can help people, because I've listened to podcasts that have really changed my life. So that's one thing, is look at the worst case scenario and be okay with that. If you're okay with the worst case scenario, odds are you're going to get even a positive result, but something in the middle might happen. That's okay too. So be okay with the worst case scenario. And then lastly, this is something that I've done in the past. I never actually put into words, but I'm calling it over planning or overreaching. And so the idea of, again, I'm using the example of asking somebody out, is that think of the most insane way that you could ask somebody out and just kind of picture that in your head a bit and imagine what it'd be like if you were to ask that person in like the craziest way possible, and then do less than that. And the reason why I'm saying that is just because you're still taking action. So if the craziest way you could ask somebody out, let's say you met them at the gym and you showed up with all these flowers and you had a band, I don't know, something just totally outrageous, and just pretend, you play that story in your head a little bit, how insane that would be. And then just do less than that. And it's a little bit of a mind trick there, because now your brain's going, wow, that's crazy. Like, oh my God, I can do that stress response. Right? You get your heart starts going, wait a minute, well, what if I just talk to them, ask them how their day was? Right? It's definitely a lot easier. So you can do this with, again, business as well. If you're starting a new business, it would be the craziest way to start your business. Maybe you want to help, maybe you want to be a trainer and you want to help people. I'm gonna call the NFL and I'm gonna tell them that I'm gonna be their trainer. Well, you could. It's pretty crazy. Or maybe just start, and if you're kind of play that picture in your head and then go under that. Maybe you just talk to your friends and family. So the point is that you're kind of getting okay with this big action, and then do just less than that. And again, for some people that are already doing stuff, you don't need this last step. If you're already taking action all the time, this is not for you. But if you are in that place of not sure where to go, play the biggest scenario and then downplay that 2 levels and start there, because doing something is always better than doing nothing. I'm going to say that one more time. That's the cure-all, is massive action will fix any of these things. So doing something, even if it's little, even if it's just, again, you're asking them on a date and you have their phone number and you text them, that's better than not doing anything. Maybe you're wanting a new job. Start looking for new jobs. Start applying for new jobs instead of telling your boss to go to hell and quitting that day and doing the most extreme version that you could think of. Do just less than that, just a little bit less to start, and then you can work your way up. Or maybe you just have that much confidence right now in your life, and I hope you do that. You're willing to do the most extreme thing, because if you're willing to do that, then everything else is going to be easy. So there it is. That's the episode for today. I hope you found value out of this, and I'm just going to recap. So 1, do something difficult with your body. Train your body to take difficult action. My suggestion, personally, I exercise in cold showers. And don't just exercise and that's something you know you can do. Do that, something that you find super challenging, whatever that thing is. Do that just a little bit every day. Next up for your brain is training, doing that visualization. Picture these things going on in your brain and yourself doing them, whatever it may be. Preps the body, preps your brain, preps your emotional state, because then when you go into that state, you've already practiced it a bunch of times, so you're going to be okay. Next is find out what would be, think in your head what the worst case scenario would be. Be okay with that, because if you're okay with worst case scenario, then everything else is going to be okay. And then last, that over plan or that overreaching, think of the craziest thing that you could do, and just start by just doing just under that, couple steps under that, maybe somewhere in the middle, and start there. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you taking this time. If you want to support this podcast, best way is to 1, share it with somebody that needs it. Like it, that always helps. Review it if you haven't. And even more, you can go to lifepurposely.ca to sign up for our newsletter that my wife's doing weekly. It's an amazing email that she sends out. I don't know why we call it newsletter, to be honest, because it's not a newsletter, but it's an email weekly. And she's writing some amazing content and just things that'll change how you're thinking, and maybe get you to ask some questions in your life on things that you want to change and you might want to do differently. And we always add tips and tricks to become a better version of yourself and to live your life out with purpose. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.